Welcome to week 10 of my NFL predictions. And last week I went 11-4 on predictions, putting my current record at 90-48. And the teams on the bye week are Browns, Packers, Raiders, and Seahawks. And starting off this week, we have an AFC North matchup between the Bengals and Ravens on Thursday Night Football. Bengals dominated the Raiders last week, and the Ravens dominated the Broncos last week. So both these teams coming off of very strong victories. And this is a very important game for the Bengals, because if they don't win this game, their chances of making the playoffs really slip down. So I think they're definitely going to play hard with some urgency, especially considering it's a divisional matchup and how the AFC North teams like to play each other. But I still have to go with the Ravens just because they've been more consistent on offense and their defense might have turned a corner. So I'm going to pick the Ravens to win 33-28. Our next game, we got a Germany game actually. It's going to be played at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And it's between the Giants and the Panthers. And I don't really like the outlook for how this game is, just because neither of these teams are any good. And I just think it's going to essentially be a tank bowl, if we're being honest. And I don't know. I don't think Germany deserves to have this be the game that they're, going to have in their country. But it is what it is. This game will be played, and it'll probably be terrible. I'm going to say the Giants, or no, wait, not the Giants, my bad. The Panthers win with the score of 13-10. Now we're at the 1 o'clock slate. Patriots are going to take on the Bears. Patriots lost in overtime to the Titans last week. And the Bears lost in blowout fashion to the Cardinals. So both these teams trying to get, I don't want to say the Patriots are trying to get back on track because they've just had a dumpster fire year. But the Bears are definitely trying to get back on track. And I think Matt Eberflus is going to be coaching for his job here, because if he doesn't win here, I think they're going to fire him, as they should, but it's only a matter of time, and a win could buy him some more time. And I am going to pick the Bears just because there's more talent on that roster, and they've played better this year. I'm going to pick the Bears to snap their 2-game losing streak with a score of 20-13. Traveling a few hundred miles south from Chicago, we have the Bills going to Lucas Oil Stadium to take on the Colts. And the Bills, they were able to get the job done against the Dolphins. It wasn't pretty, but they did ultimately win the game. And the Colts, they had a prime opportunity to improve to 5-4, but instead they choked against the Vikings because they had momentum in that game and they just couldn't get the job done. And this game could be interesting. People probably are just going to pick the Bills and just, call it a day. But I feel like this game could be like a shootout because the Bills obviously have a good offense. And the Colts offense, ultimately hasn't been that bad. It's their defense that's bad. And I think that this game will be close. I'm still going to pick the Bills because I believe more in Josh Allen than Joe Flacco. But I could see this game being a fun one, and I have the Bills winning this one with a score of 27-20. Traveling about 500 miles south, we are going to Jacksonville to talk about the Minnesota Vikings and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And unlike the last game, I don't exactly see this game being close. The Vikings, they've had their struggles these past few weeks, but I still think they're a really good team, and they have a really good defense. And the Jags are, the Jags. They're tied for one of the worst records in the league because there's a couple of teams that collectively have that 2-7 record. And, the Jags, it's just been a miserable season for them. There's not much more to say. Trevor Lawrence is playing a little bit better, but it's not going to be enough to win here. I got the Vikings winning 23-14. Traveling up to Kansas City, Missouri, we got the Denver Broncos taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Broncos, they've had a reality check. The Ravens honestly beat the shit out of them. They lost 41-10, and it just shows that they're not up there yet with the Super Bowl contenders, which is okay. I mean, we're a rebuilding team. And the Chiefs, they went into overtime with the Bucs on Monday Night Football last week, and they were ultimately able to get the victory, and that's what matters. And this is a divisional game, and I do think this will be a close game. And I am going to pick the Chiefs just because it's the Chiefs, and I don't think the Broncos are going to be the first team to beat the Chiefs this year, because they will get beat, but it won't be the Broncos. So I have the Chiefs winning this one, a bit low scoring, because both these teams have good defenses. I'm going to say Chiefs win 17-13. Traveling back down to New Orleans, we got the Atlanta Falcons taking on the New Orleans Saints. The Falcons able to get their 6th victory of the season against the lowly Dallas Cowboys. And the Saints, they're on a 7-game losing streak after losing to the Panthers by 1 point last week. And, I mean, it'll be a little close because it's division rivals, but I mean, this is just, like, the Falcons, they'll probably win the division. I mean, no other team in that division looks like they're going to, except for maybe the Bucs if they can get healthier. And I think they're going to run away with the NFC South at some point, and a game like this with the win here would help with that. And as for the Saints, I mean, they're done. Like, I don't know what else to say. 7-game losing streak. They just traded Marshawn Lattimore as well, and it just shows that this team is not a recipe for winning. So I have the Falcons winning 27-17. Traveling back down to Florida and Tampa Bay, we got the 49ers taking on the Buccaneers. The 49ers, they had a bye week last week. And the Bucs, they lost to the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. And the thing about that game that's frustrating is I feel like the Bucs played better than the Chiefs, but they just couldn't get the job done because Todd Bowles, these past few weeks, has been horrendous with his play calling in the fourth quarter. And I just, like, this team, I can't trust them. There's talent, but I can't trust them. And, I mean, the 49ers, they had a bye week, and that obviously helps get them rest. CMC's going to make his return in this game as well. And I think the 49ers are going to start to get back on track a little bit. I mean, CMC's back. He's their best offensive weapon. And I'm going to pick the 49ers because they had rest, and I trust Kyle Shanahan a hell of a lot more than I trust Todd Bowles. So I got the 49ers winning this one 20-17. And traveling northeast, we got the Steelers taking on the Commanders. And who would have thought this would be a game that would be a must-watch game? But it is. This is honestly arguable for game of the week because both these teams have been playing very well. And the Commanders just traded for Marshawn Lattimore, and the Steelers just traded for Mike Williams. And both these teams are contenders in my opinion. And let's see, the Steelers, the Steelers had a bye week last week, so they didn't play. The Commanders beat the Giants last week. Not too much of a surprise there. And this is going to be a really fun game. I can't wait for this one. And I'm actually going to pick the Steelers. And the reason I'm picking the Steelers is because I think Jaden Daniels is due for a game where he struggles. And the Steelers can make that happen because of their defense. I mean, granted, it'll probably still be high scoring, but I do have the Steelers winning a close one with a score of 30-27. And heading basically all the way to the other side of North America, we're heading west to La La Land for Tennessee Titans versus LA Chargers. And the Titans able to get their second victory in overtime against the Patriots. And it's always good to get a win when you're a rebuilding team. And the Chargers, they were able to completely destroy the Browns. Like, Justin Herbert looked like old Justin Herbert, which I mean that in a good way because Justin Herbert just hasn't been putting up the stats this year. But last week, he most certainly did. And, I mean, I don't really know what to say here. I mean, the Chargers, they've been playing a lot better than the Titans. I mean, the Titans just won, but it was the Patriots. And then again, even then, they still had to go to overtime to do just that. So I'm going to pick the Chargers because I trust Justin Herbert and, what's his name, Jim Harbaugh more than Mason Rudolph and Brian Callahan. So Chargers win 23-13. Moving on, we're going just a little bit east of La La Land. We're going to Arizona to take on Jets and Cardinals. Jets able to get their third win of the season against the Texans on Thursday Night Football, and that was a good win for them. It really was. And the Cardinals, they got a really good win as well. They're able to beat the Bears. And, you know, both these teams are definitely trending up after last week, especially the Cardinals. Jets, I mean, we'll have to see if they can do this consistently. But they did snap their losing streak, and it's always good. They were on a 5-game losing streak, and they did snap that. And you can't argue with the results, and they did win, so credit where credit's due. And this is a tough one because I feel like I should pick the Cardinals because they're at home and they have been playing better, but like the thing that's weird about the Cardinals is they will like play really good one week and then play like shit the next week. And for that reason, I'm going to pick the Jets to win this one with a score of 23-10. Traveling southeast, we got the Eagles taking on the Cowboys. The Eagles, they won last week against the Jags. Pretty sketchy, but they did end up winning. And the Cowboys, they lost to the Falcons, and they just looked completely done in that game. And they're also not going to have Dak Prescott playing in this game either. And, you know, that's the one thing that the Cowboys could do to beat the Eagles is have Dak, because he always torches the Eagles when they're at AT&T Stadium. But they don't even have Dak, so I can't pick the Cowboys. So I do think it'll be close because it's the Eagles and they'll make this close, and it's the division rivalry. And I'm going to pick the Eagles to win a close one with a score of 25-20. And traveling a little further away from Dallas, we're going to Houston to talk about Detroit Lions versus Houston Texans. The Lions able to take care of a division rival in the Packers last week. And Texans, they lost to the Jets on Thursday Night Football. And the thing about that game that was concerning is, like, they didn't even really look that. They were up in the first half despite not playing great, and they couldn't really capitalize on the fact that they were up. And I mean, ever since Nico Collins suffered an injury that put him on IR, the Texans offense has not looked the same. And when your offense doesn't look the same, you know, it really limits what your team can do. And that's what's happening with the Texans. I mean, the record's still good, but they just haven't been playing with the same fire that they have, you know, since they're injured. They also don't have Stephon Diggs at all for the rest of the season. And the Lions, I mean, they're a juggernaut. Best team in the NFL. And I have to pick the Lions. I think they'll win 23-18. And traveling northwest, we finally have Monday Night Football. We got the Dolphins taking on the Rams. The Dolphins losing a heartbreaker to the Bills last week. And the Rams, they're able to win in overtime against their division rival, the Seahawks. And, I mean, you know, the Dolphins, I mean, honestly, they lost, but they played a lot better than I thought they would. I mean, their defense, not really, but their offense definitely, it's starting to click. So credit to them for that. And the Rams, you know, it's kind of the same thing. Like, they started off bad, but they really have started to turn their season around. Now that Puka's back, and hopefully he won't get ejected again. Cooper Kupp is back. And, you know, you just look at the Rams, and they're a scary team. And I do think this will be a close game. I think the Rams are the better team, but I definitely think it'll be close. You got two teams with really good offenses, and I'm going to have to go with the Rams 24-20. And that's going to do it for this video. Here's all my predictions laid out. And here's all the teams with the bye weeks if you wanted to take note of that. And I will see you in my next video.